Mighty Companions, this is Earl Purdy. I want you to chill out and relax for Hardcore Course in Miracles here on Facebook Live, and that ain't no jive. And we're going to be doing a section called The Function of the Teacher of God on page 19 in the Teacher's Manual.
You are sinless, you are sinless, you are a child of God. You are sinless, you are sinless, loves you like you are. Your invulnerability was your father's guarantee that you would forever be completely free. You are guiltless, you are guiltless, you are a child of God. You are guiltless, you are guiltless, loves you where you are. Your invulnerability was your father's guarantee that you would forever be completely free. But you keep on singing, yeah, you keep on singing, yes, you keep on singing the blues. Stop singing, when you're gonna stop singing, it's time for you to learn, you got nothing to lose.
Hello, I'm Earl Purdy here on Facebook Live, and that ain't no jive. I want to talk to my mighty companions, the Hardcore Course in Miracles students, so we can get down on page 19 in the Manual for Teachers, in the Foundation for Inner Peace version of the Course in Miracles. We're going to get down in what is your function as a teacher of God.
Sinless, you are sinless, you are a child of God. You are sinless, you are sinless, love you like you are. Your invulnerability was your father's guarantee that you would forever be completely free. But you keep on singing, yeah, you keep on singing, yeah, you keep on singing the blues. It's time for you to quit singing. It's time for you to quit singing. It's time for you to learn you got nothing to lose.
Get down. You are innocent. You need not welcome these ideas. You need not accept these ideas. You need not even welcome these ideas. Some of the ideas you may actively resist. Some of the ideas you may actively resist. Some of these ideas you will find hard to believe. You may find some of these ideas hard to believe. And some of these ideas may be quite startling. You are not asked to judge the ideas at all. You are not asked to judge the ideas at all. You are not asked to analyze the ideas at all. It's the use of the ideas that will give the ideas meaning to you and will show you that the ideas are true. It is the use of the ideas, using the ideas, that will show you that the ideas are true. It's the use of the ideas. That's John Christmas at johnchristmas.com. If you want to get his music, go to johnchristmas.com. Yes, mighty companions. Hello, I'm Earl Purdy. And I want us to kind of chill out. When you come to do the Course in Miracles with me, I just want you to chill out and relax. This is hardcore Course in Miracles. Now, we're going to be on page 19. Now, hello, mighty companions. It is so good to be with you. I always look so forward to our time together. All of you. And I see all your comments. And we are family. We're the mighty companions. It's so good to know that we have each other. And we're coming together. Take a breath and let yourself feel the other people that are right here in this time, in this place. To join us with the Course in Miracles, page 19, the Manual for Teachers. I am the Divine Repetition Teacher. I am the Divine Remembrance Course in Miracles teacher. I have been sharing the Course in Miracles full time in the world. This is my 40th year of studying the Course, and I've been doing it full time for over 30 years, and the Course in Miracles works. I know sometimes it can be a trip to try to study it, but A Course in Miracles works. But it's not about analyzing the ideas. And so I don't spend any time analyzing the ideas. My focus is on hearing what the Course in Miracles is saying and then using the ideas. The Course in Miracles is working with our perception. It works with the way that we are seeing things. And it's based on the idea that you give everything you see all the meaning that it has for you. And from the meaning that you give everything that's happening in your life, your emotions and your feelings are a reaction to the meanings and interpretations of everything you're given in your life. And the goal of the Course in Miracles is peace of mind. It teaches that with peace of mind, you can hear the inner voice, the voice for God inside of you. And that voice is directing you every minute of the day. But do you know that the Course in Miracles says you're too busy listening to the voice of the world and maybe too busy listening to the voice that you've made up called the ego. And that's why you don't hear your inner guidance that's telling you everything you need from moment to moment to have a totally blissful and happy life. So I go through the paragraph and then I go back through the paragraph and then we'll see if we can hear what it's saying. Page 19 in the Manual for Teachers. Let me get it up. Let me get it up. The function of the teacher of God. The function of the teacher of God, the demonstrator of love. The Course is only talking about love or fear. It says if the patient must change his mind in order to be healed, if a person has to change their mind in order to be healed, what does the teacher of God do? What do you do? What does the demonstrator of God do? Can you change the patient's mind for him? Can you change another person's mind for them? Certainly not. You can't change another person's mind for them. For those who are already willing to change their minds, the teacher of God has no function except to rejoice with them. For those who have become willing to change their minds have become a teacher of God with the teacher of God. The teacher of God, who is the demonstrator of love, has, however, a more specific function for those who don't understand what healing is. For those who don't understand what healing is, you have a more specific function, it says. It says, can you change a person's mind for them? Can you change another person's mind for them? Certainly not. For those already willing to change their minds, the teacher of God, you, the demonstrator of truth, has no function except to rejoice with them. For those who are already willing to change their mind, they become a teacher of God with you. They become a demonstrator of love with you. Do you know that you, however, have a more specific function For those who don't understand what healing is, for those who don't understand what healing in truth is, you have a more specific function. These patients do not realize they've chosen sickness. These are the people who don't realize they've chosen whatever unhappiness that they're having, whatever lack of peace they're having. On the contrary, those who don't realize they've chosen the stuff that they're going through, they believe that the sickness or the not right-mindedness or the stuff that they're going through has chosen them, nor are they open-minded on this point. The body tells a person who doesn't realize what healing is what to do, and those who don't realize they've chosen sickness, chosen unhappiness, obey. Those who have chosen sickness and unhappiness but don't know that they are not victims, they have no idea how insane this concept is, that their body, their outside circumstances tells them how to feel. If those who have chosen sickness and unhappiness, if those who believe that the body tells them what to do and they obey, if they even suspected how insane it is to think that you are a victim, they would be healed. Yet those who believe that they are victims, those who don't know that they chose the sickness or not right-mindedness or unhappiness that they're going through, they suspect nothing. To those who believe that the outside circumstances, the body, tells them what to do and they obey, they suspect nothing. To them, the separation is quite real. All right, don't forget now, I want you to share this video. Take a moment to share the video right next to comments. You can share the video. Yes, I want to give a shout out to those of you who've made comments. I'd like to give a shout out to Kim, to Diana, to Alita, to Jim, to Carly, Victoria, Diana, and all the rest of my mighty companions. Rick, Karen, Neil, Bridget, Deborah, all you mighty, mighty companions. Quana, Melinda, Victoria, Nicola. I want to give a shout out to you and all my mighty companions online. We have people watching from all over the world. Okay, my job, in my perception as a demonstrator of love, as a teacher of God, is to make the Course in Miracles extremely practical. So I'm going to go through it line by line, and I'm not going to analyze it. We're going to see what was the message in this paragraph. So do you know that the first thing it says that if a person must change their mind in order to be healed, if you have to change your mind in order to be happy, I want you to think about a situation, a circumstance. If a person must change their mind in order to be happy, then what do you do? What do you do? You're supposed to be a teacher of God, a demonstrator of love. Can you change the person's mind for them? The Course in Miracles says certainly not. You can't change another person's mind for them. You cannot change another person's mind for them. You cannot change another person's mind. You cannot change another person's mind. You cannot change another person's mind. If you're in a relationship issue right now, you cannot change that person's mind. That person has to change their own mind. The best that you can do is motivate them to want to change their mind. A Course in Miracles says that the best thing you can do, the only thing you can do, is to motivate a person to want to change their own mind. Do you know that you cannot change somebody else's mind? You cannot change somebody else's mind. All you can do is to motivate a person to change their mind. So can you change another person's mind for them? Certainly not. If you're looking down at the page, you'll see I'm not analyzing this. I'm making it practical. It's almost like I'm doing a modern language version of A Course in Miracles. So there are two things that you do. For those already willing to change their mind. So what do you do if you're around somebody that's already willing to change their mind, to think in a different way, to see things differently? What do you do when you're around somebody like us? We're willing to change our minds. If we weren't willing to change our minds, we wouldn't be here right now. We wouldn't be here right now. Try to see if I can move this without toppling it over. Okay. So stop trying to change somebody else's mind. You can't change anybody else's mind. You can't change anybody else's mind. The best you can do is to try to motivate someone to change their own mind. A Course in Miracles says a good teacher is a good motivator. A teacher is a good motivator. A teacher is a demonstrator. Certainly, you cannot change another person's mind. It says, for those already willing to change their minds, the teacher of God has no function except to rejoice with them. So what are you supposed to be doing with me? You're supposed to be rejoicing with me. Why? Because I'm willing to change my mind. What am I supposed to be doing with each and every one of you? I'm supposed to be rejoicing with you because you're willing to change your mind. If you weren't willing to change your mind, you wouldn't be watching this presentation. And also, what is your function with everybody else online? You're here to rejoice with them because we're willing to change our minds. So, what are we supposed to be doing with each other? Whenever you're around anybody else who's on the spiritual path, and they're truly on the spiritual path of love and taking self-responsibility, what are you supposed to do with other Course in Miracles students and anyone that's trying to change their mind? You have no function except to be happy with them. So our function with each other is to be happy with each other. Our function with each other is to rejoice with each other. My function with you is to rejoice with you. My function with you is to rejoice with you. Your function with me is to rejoice with me. What is our function with each other? Because we're all willing to work on ourselves and to change our minds. Hello, Michelle. Do you know that our function is to rejoice with each other? So what is our function? Our function is to rejoice with each other. Because anybody that's willing to change their mind, they become a teacher of God with you. It says it right here. For those already willing to change their minds, the teacher of God has no function except to rejoice with them, for they have become teachers of God with them. So what is our function? To rejoice with each other. Not to correct each other, not to fix each other, not to try to show each other how wise we are and how much we know. If you're with somebody else and they're also on their spiritual path, which means they are choosing for love, you have no function except to rejoice with them, but they become teachers of God with you. Okay, so that's what you do with people who are already willing to change their mind. Then it says the teacher of God has, however, a more specific function. For those who do not understand what healing is, you have a much more specific function. You have a much more specific function for those who don't understand what healing is. You have a more specific function for those who don't understand what the truth is. You have a more specific function for those who don't understand what love is. You have a more specific function when you're around a fearful person, a guilty person, a person who thinks that they are a body, someone who thinks that they're separate. You have a more specific function for those people. He says, I love it. He says, those who don't understand what healing is, those who don't understand what love is, those who don't understand what the undoing of fear is. So what is a sick person according to the Course? It's somebody who doesn't know what love is, or somebody who doesn't know what love is, somebody who doesn't know what the truth is, somebody who doesn't know what healing is. You have a much more specific function for those who don't know what healing is. You have a much more specific function for those who are afraid, those who are angry, those who are guilty, those who are in lack, those who are sick. You have a more specific function. He says, these patients, and the Course in Miracles calls all of us patients, these people don't realize they've chosen sickness. Most people don't realize they've chosen whatever they are experiencing. Most people don't realize that we are not victims, we are creators, and that our thoughts determine the world we see and everything that we are experiencing. Your thoughts determine the world you see, the Course in Miracles says, and everything that you think you are experiencing. Those who are unhappy, those who are miserable, those who are angry, those who are sad, those who have non-right-mindedness, those who have a lack of peace, and that's what the Course in Miracles describes as sickness. He says they don't realize that they've chosen sickness. On the contrary, people who are unhappy and see themselves as victims, they believe that whatever they are going through is something that chose them. And they're not open-minded on this. You can try to tell people that they create their realities and that they are creating what's happening to them and that they're attracting the things that are happening to them and that all those things are coming from them. But there are many people who are not open-minded about that, and they don't even want to consider the fact that they might be the creators of their unhappiness. The Course in Miracles says it right here. They're not even open-minded about that. And they believe that the body tells them what to do and they obey. In other words, I believe that the cold chose me. I believe the headache chose me. I believe the toothache chose me. I believe that whatever I'm going through in my body chose me. And the Course says the body really is your entire perception. So I could also expand that to say when a person is sick, that means that they believe that they are a victim. They don't know that they chose whatever it is that they are experiencing. And they don't realize how insane it is to think you, as an unlimited child of God, is a victim of every single thing that you are going through. So when you're talking to somebody who thinks they're a victim, who believes that everything that's happening to them, they didn't have anything to do with it, and they're not even open-minded about that, those people don't realize how insane that is. As a matter of fact, they'll tell you that you're the one that's crazy as hell. They'll tell you that you're the one that's sick. That, I might even get someone that's going to tell me, man, what you're saying is crazy. Sometimes people will say, this is the craziest crap I've ever heard in my life. And that's because they don't believe that the sickness or unhappiness that they're going through, they don't believe that they're the one that creates it. And they don't see how insane it is to believe that you, as an unlimited child of God, is a victim of anything that you're going through. Hello, Sarah, Quana. He says, if they even suspected it, they would be healed. To me, that is a very powerful statement. If you even suspected that you created your experience, you would be healed. If you even suspected that you were the one that's creating whatever unhappiness that you experience in any kind of way, you would be healed. So if I'm not healed, what does that mean? If I'm not happy, if I'm not in peace, if I'm not a truly loving person, then I really haven't even suspected how insane it is to think that I'm a victim of my experience. So if this is true, and I'm unhappy, then I haven't even really and truly suspected yet that I really am the creator of my experience and that it's insane for me to see myself as a victim in any kind of way. You hear me, Alita? Do you know what I'm talking about? You hearing me? If you even suspected that you would, if you truly even suspected that it's insane to believe that you are a victim of your experience, if you even suspected that was true, then the unhappiness would be gone, the lack would be gone, the fear would be gone, the guilt would be gone, the separation would be gone. Would you believe that the Course in Miracles gets you out of denial so that you're not lying to yourself and fooling yourself? If you really believe this, if you even suspected this was true, then you would be healed. So I know that at some level I don't even suspect that this is ultimately true, because there's still areas in my life that I'll be tempted to be upset in, that I'll be tempted to still experience sickness in. But he says those who think that they're victims, those who think that they are bodies, they suspect nothing. To them, the separation is quite real. To who is the separation quite real? The separation is quite real to those who believe that the body tells them what to do and they obey. I believe that I got a backache and that backache just happened. My mind had nothing to do with it. If you believe your mind has nothing to do with what you're going through, if you believe that you have nothing to do with what you're going through, if you believe that your unhappiness, or lack of peace, or fear is being caused by anything outside of yourself, then the Course in Miracles defines you as a patient. It says that you are sick. And if you even suspected how powerful you were, if you even suspected that you were truly a child of God, you wouldn't have the lack, you wouldn't have the fear, you wouldn't have the guilt in your perception. Because the only thing that needs to be corrected is your perception. I know you may think it's all the other things, but the only thing that, according to the Course in Miracles, the only thing that needs to be corrected is your perception, your interpretation, the way you're seeing things. So I'm going to do the next paragraph. To them, God's teachers come to represent another choice which they have forgotten. The simple presence of a teacher of God is a reminder. The teacher of God's thoughts asks for the right to question what the patient has accepted as true. As God's messengers, God's teachers are the symbols of salvation. God's teachers ask the patient for forgiveness for God's Son in his own name. The teachers of God stand for the alternative. With God's words in their minds, the teachers of God come in benediction, not to heal the sick, but to remind the sick of the remedy God has already given them. It is not the teachers of God, it is not their hands that heal. It is not the teacher of God's hands that heal. It is not the teachers of God's voice that speaks the word of God. The teachers of God merely give what has been given them. Very gently, the teachers of God, the demonstrators of love, call to their brothers, call to their equals to do what? Turn away from death. Behold, you son of God, behold, you child of God, what life can offer you. Behold, you child of God, what life can offer you. Behold, you demonstrator of love, what life can offer you. Would you choose sickness instead of what life can offer you? Would you choose sickness, which is non-right-mindedness, guilt, lack, victim consciousness, body consciousness? Would you choose sickness in place of what life can offer you? Come on, y'all. Come on, get in the back seat with me. Get beside me. We're on the path. We're on the highway of love. So let's go back. We're in the manual for teachers. Let's go back line for line. And let's make it practical. Okay, so you're around somebody and they don't realize. I'm not going to analyze the Course in Miracles. I do not 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 analyze the Course in Miracles. My purpose is to help people hear what it's saying. And that's it. My purpose is not to defend it, not to explain it, but to just share what it's saying. I'm the divine repetition teacher. I'm the divine remembering teacher. I've been doing this friggin' book for 40 years. You think I would be doing it this way if I didn't see after 40 years that maybe there's a simpler way to do that? And that is, first of all, to let yourself hear it. First thing is to hear it. And it's saying that you as a demonstrator of love, you as a Course in Miracles student, to people who are sick and unhappy and believe that they're victims and that their body tells them what to do, it says, to them, God's teachers come. So when you come around people who believe that they are victims and bodies and full of anger, guilt, and grievances, what you do is you represent another choice. You represent another choice that unhappy, sick people have forgotten. So what are you? You represent another choice. That is your job. You're here by being a demonstrator of truth and a demonstrator of love. You're here to represent another choice. That's what you do with your friends, your family, your children, everybody around you that seems to be unhappy for any reason. You come to represent another choice that they've forgotten. So people who are unhappy in fear and guilt, they have just forgotten that there's another way that they can be. They've forgotten that there's another way that they can be. Now, it says the simple presence of a teacher of God is a reminder. So that means if you're a demonstrator of love and a demonstrator of truth, then your simple presence is a reminder. What is your simple presence a reminder of? Your simple presence is a reminder of the one thing that they've forgotten. So what is the one thing that the unhappy person has forgotten? What is the one thing you've forgotten when you're unhappy? It says it right here. You have forgotten that you have another choice. That no matter what you feel right now, if you feel unhappy in any way, if you're afraid in any way, there's another choice. And I'm here as a reminder that you have another choice, because as a demonstrator of love, a teacher of God, I'm here to represent another choice. It says it right here. It says the simple presence of a teacher of God is a reminder. His thoughts ask for the right to question what the patient has accepted as truth. Notice that it says his thoughts ask for the right to question. It didn't say that you were going to say out loud. It didn't say that you were going to necessarily question what the person believes. It didn't say that you were going to outwardly question what the person has accepted as true. It didn't say that you were going to outwardly question what the unhappy person has accepted as true. It says your thoughts ask for the right to question. So my thoughts ask for the right to question what the other person has accepted as true. So in my thoughts, I'm questioning what you have accepted as true. If you have accepted any form of fear as true, I'm in your presence. You may be telling me all the stuff that you think you are a victim of and what other people have done to you. But I'm going to, in my thoughts, I'm going to question what you have accepted as true. In other words, I don't have to say a word. I'm just not going to go into agreement that you are a victim. I'm not going to mentally go into agreement that you are not loved and lovable. I'm not going to go into agreement with any negative, fearful thought or untrue thought that you have about yourself. And that's what you're supposed to do. Your thoughts ask for the right to question what the other person has accepted as true. It says, as a God's messenger, as a messenger of love, you are the symbol of salvation. And the Course in Miracles says salvation is right-mindedness, it's forgiveness, it's peace. So you are here to be the symbol of peace. You are to be the symbol of peace. Now, how can you be the symbol of salvation? How can you be the symbol of peace unless you have peace? Because you can't really give what you don't have. So what do you do when you're around somebody who's afraid, seeing themselves as a victim? They're angry, they're sick. The next line tells us, the teacher of God asked the patient for forgiveness for God's child in his own name. So I'm going to ask the person that's unhappy for forgiveness. I'm going to ask, in my mind, I'm going to ask for forgiveness, which is correct perception. Forgiveness is true perception. The Course in Miracles, one of the Course in Miracles definitions of forgiveness is true perception, correct perception. So I'm going to ask you for forgiveness. I'm going to ask you for correct perception. I'm going to ask you for your correct perception. I'm going to ask you mentally, and if I'm led spiritually, I might ask you outwardly. But I'm going to ask the patient for forgiveness for God's Son in his own name. So what is it that you stand for? You stand for the alternative. In other words, if a person is angry, then if I'm peaceful, then I'm standing for the alternative. If a person believes in lack and I believe in the abundance of God, then I stand for the alternative. If the person believes that they are a body that's a victim of everything, then I'm going to believe that I'm not a body and I'm spirit and I'm connected. In other words, your job is to stand for the alternative. And the only alternative to love is fear. The only alternative to guilt is innocence. So you stand for the alternative. Now, what do? Now, if you follow along with me in the book, it says, with God's word in their minds, they come in benediction. So what does it mean to come to the person that's unhappy in benediction? It says, not to heal the sick. I'm not coming to you to heal you. With the truth in my mind, I'm not coming to you to heal you. I'm just coming to remind you of the remedy that your Creator has already given you. So as a teacher of God, as a teacher of love, with you right now, I come in benediction. I come in benediction, I come in benediction, I come in benediction, I come in benediction, I come in benediction. So what does that mean? It means I come to remind you of the remedy God has already given you. It says it right here in the book, with God's word in their minds, they come in benediction, not to heal the sick, but to remind them of the remedy God has already given them. So as a teacher of God, as a teacher of love, I'm coming in benediction to you right now. I'm coming not to heal you, because only God, only the Holy Spirit is the healer. But I do come to remind you of the remedy that your Creator has already given you. As a Course in Miracles teacher, I'm coming as a reminder. I'm coming as a reminder to remind you of the remedy that love has already given you. I've come to remind you of the love, the remedy that God has already given you. It is not the teachers of God. It says, it is not their minds that heal. It is not their, I love it. It says, it says it right here. With God's word in their minds, they come in benediction, not to heal the sick, but to remind them of the remedy that God has already given. Let me put this. Okay. Here we go. All right. It says right here. Okay, so what do? There are people in your life that are unhappy. They believe that they're victims. They get upset. They believe that they are being done wrong, right? They've forgotten that they're spirit. They've forgotten that they're connected to God. They think they're a body. They think they're separate. So what do? Well, you don't come to fix them and correct them outwardly. You come to them with thoughts in your mind that question the negative things that they believe about themselves. You don't go there to fix them or to heal them. You go there to remind them of the remedy that God has already given them. It's not going to be your hands that heal. It's not your voice, your little ego voice, that speaks the word of God. They, the teachers of God, merely give what has been given them. So I'm going to give you, okay, so this is what I do. I'm going to give you what's been given to me. I'm going to give you what's been given to me. Okay, so what's been given to me this evening? Well, it's been given to me this evening to recognize that I have a function. And when I'm around people who are like me, who want to be more loving, who want to learn the truth, just like us, then I don't have any function except to rejoice with you, to be happy with you. That is my function with you. If you already want to grow, if you're already going toward the direction of God, then I don't have a function but to rejoice with you. Now, if you'll notice, I'm not jumping all around. I'm not jumping all around to a lot of different aspects of the course. What I'm doing is focusing on what the section is saying that we're in right now. Because the Course in Miracles is very present oriented. All the questions you might have are right there in front of you with what you're already reading. Let me give you an example. It says, if I'm around somebody who really wants to demonstrate love, then I just need to rejoice with them. And when I'm around other people who don't believe that they are creators, that they are innocent, then my job with them is to represent the alternative. If I'm around a fearful person, my job is to be loving. If I'm around a person who thinks they're guilty, my job is to remember their innocence. If I'm around a person who thinks they're sick, my job is to remember their true inner eternal health. Do you understand? Your job is to represent the alternative, and it has nothing to do with what you're saying to anybody. The Course in Miracles says, you give what's been given to you. So I'm sharing with you what the Course in Miracles has shared with me. And then it tells you what to do. It says, very gently, very gently, very gently call to that person in your mind to turn away from death, which is the same as saying turn away from fear, turn away from anger, turn away from grievances, turn away from believing that you're separate, turn away from attack. The Course in Miracles says all these things are thoughts of death. So when it says turn away from death, it means turn away from fear, turn away from separation, turn away from guilt, turn away from anger. And in your mind, unless you're told otherwise, in your mind, it says, in your mind you say, behold, you beautiful child of love, you child of God. I want you to see what life can offer you. I want you to Are you willing to see what love can offer you? Are you willing to see what oneness can offer you? Are you willing to see what peace can offer you? Are you willing? Are you willing to see what love and life could offer you? And then you go, and would you choose sickness in place of this? Would you choose fear in place of love? Would you choose guilt in place of innocence? Would you choose lack in place of abundance? Would you choose the ego in place of God? Now, this is what's going on in my mind. I'm going, you talking and you telling me again the same thing you may have told me a million times before of how you've been done wrong and what you're unhappy about and who needs to change and what needs to change in order for you to be happy, right? You're sick. That's okay. My job is to think just the opposite of what you're saying. My job is in my mind to say, oh my God, you innocent, beautiful child of God. Turn away from this. Turn away from this. Turn away from death. Turn away from guilt. Turn away from anger and fear. Would you choose fear instead of love? Would you choose sickness instead of this? Now remember, this is going on in the mind. Unless you are told otherwise, you're just thinking this way. Okay? See how practical this is? See how practical this is? You only got two things to do with anybody who's unhappy or sick. If you're around somebody that already wants to go for the truth and they're choosing for love and they're working on themselves like the way we are, then our job, our function is to rejoice with each other. But if we're around people who think that they're victims, think that they're bodies, think that this is, they think that they're sick, then you are there to represent the alternative. That's all you're there to do. And don't believe a word they're saying. Don't side with the word of lack or fear that they're saying. Be compassionate, but in your mind, you want to remember that they're the holy child of God, that they are powerful as God. They're not God, and God has greater power, but they are children of God, so they also have creative power. So let me read the next paragraph. It's funny how my throat can be just fine until I start teaching sometimes, and then my ego goes, you will not talk. You will not get this out. Hey, Jerry. Hey, Kim. Here we go. So I'm going to do the next paragraph. I love music, and I will always use music with my presentations, and I'm going to do that, okay? Not once do the advanced teachers of God, not once do the advanced teachers of God consider the forms of sickness in which their brother believes. To do this, to consider the forms of sickness in which their brother believes, to do this is to forget that all of the forms of sickness and unhappiness have the same purpose. All forms of sickness and unhappiness have the same purpose. All forms of sickness and unhappiness has the same purpose. All forms of sickness or unhappiness has the same purpose, and therefore are not really different. The teacher of God seek for God's voice in this brother who would so deceive himself as to believe God's Son can suffer. And the teachers of God remind this brother that they did not make themselves and that they must remain as God created him. You remind your brother that your brother didn't make himself and must remain as God created him. I'm reading it directly out of the book, so don't get caught up on the terminology. Listen to what I'm saying. The teachers of God recognize illusions can have no effect. The truth in the teachers of God's minds reaches out to the truth in the minds of their brothers. So, the truth in me reaching out to the truth in you, he says, so we do that so that illusions, false ideas are not reinforced. So false ideas are thus brought to the truth. Truth is not brought to the false ideas. The false ideas are brought to the truth, but the truth is not brought to the false ideas. And that's how false ideas are dispelled. Not by the will of another. False ideas are dispelled, but by the union of the one will with itself. And basically, this is saying, this is the function of God's teachers. This is the function of the teachers of truth. To see no will as separate from their own, nor their will as separate from God's. Okay, I'm going to go back through this line by line, but I always do a little musical interlude to catch our breath. Let's take about 20 seconds of funk and feeling. Let's do a little rejoicing with each other, since we want it. Are you with me? Let's keep on trucking. Let's keep on trucking down the road of truth and love. Let's keep on trucking down the road of love and peace. Let's keep on trucking. All right. CJ. Oh, CJ. Bring it on, y'all. So glad to see you online. Hello, Renew. Glad to see you. Renew, glad to see you. Okay, so let's go to paragraph 3. And again, we're going to hear what it's saying. We're not here to analyze it. We're going to hear what it's saying. It says, not once do the advanced teacher consider the forms of unhappiness or sickness in which the other person believes. So if you're really an advanced teacher of God, according to the Course, I don't consider the thing that you're unhappy about. Really. I'm not considering the fact that you think you're unhappy about money, or that you're sick because of your back, or whatever form of unhappiness that you believe in, whatever the form, whatever the appearance that is taken. If I'm an advanced teacher of God, I don't even consider it. I know you want to talk about your financial issue, but the truth is that's an effect. So I'm not going to focus on the effect. If I'm an advanced teacher of God, I'm not going to focus on the advanced, because if I'm not going to focus on the different forms of unhappiness, because if I focus on the particular form, the Course in Miracles says, I'll forget that all forms of unhappiness, all forms of sickness have the same purpose. All forms of unhappiness, all forms of sickness has the same purpose, which is separation, which is fear, which is to make us think that we are separate from our Creator. All forms of fear have the same purpose, to make us think we're separate from our Creator, to make us think we're separate from our real safety. So if I consider the thing that you're unhappy about in form, like you just want to talk about your toothache, or you just want to talk about your foot ache, that's a form. So I don't even, when I get advanced, I don't consider the form that you're thinking that you're separate from God and that you're a victim has taken. Because all forms of unhappiness have the same purpose, so that means all forms of unhappiness are not really different. So what do you do as a teacher of God? It says it right here. They seek for God's voice in this brother. So I'm going to be wanting to hear the voice of truth, the voice of love in you. You're unhappy about something. It's not really about the thing that you think you're unhappy about. It's your father or your son or your wife or your job or your coworkers or your car or what's going on in the world. These are not the things that I consider. What I want to do is I'm looking for the truth, the voice of truth in you. I'm looking for the voice of God in you. I'm looking for the voice of love in you, because you're deceiving yourself. I'm looking for the truth in you because you're fooling yourself. You're deceiving yourself. You're unhappy about something, which means you're deceiving yourself. What is it that you're deceiving yourself about? Well, I'm going to be believing that the truth is in you, that the voice for God is in you, that the love is in you. Because the Course says, I seek for God's voice in this person who would so deceive himself as to believe God's child can suffer. I'm deceiving myself because I think as a child of God, I can really suffer. I'm deceiving myself because I think as a child of God, I can really suffer. I'm deceiving myself because I think I can suffer. What you really are cannot suffer. What you really are cannot suffer. Who you really are cannot suffer. Who you really are cannot be hurt. Who you really are cannot be hurt. Who you really are cannot be hurt. Who you really are cannot suffer. Who you really are. Who you really are cannot be hurt. Who you really are cannot suffer. Who you really are cannot be hurt. Who you really are cannot suffer. Who you really are cannot hurt. Who you really are cannot suffer. Stop deceiving yourself. Stop deceiving yourself. My little unhappy friend that's suffering about something, upset about something right now. I'm not going to, in my mind, agree with anything negative that you're saying. Whatever you think you're going through, I know it has the same purpose. But I'm going to look for the truth in you, because the truth in you knows that you're deceiving yourself right now. You're deceiving yourself because you believe you can suffer or lack in some way. So I'm here to remind you, he says, and the teacher of God, remind the person that is unhappy, that thinks that they are sick or suffering. You remind them, you say to them, you did not make yourself. 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 You didn't make yourself. I know you're miserable and unhappy and you're suffering because you've deceived yourself into thinking that a child of God is weak, that a child of God could have some kind of lack or to suffer. But I'm here to remind you. What am I here to remind you of? I'm here to remind you that you did not make yourself. You did not make yourself, and you must remain as God created you. I know you're unhappy right now, but you didn't create yourself, and you're still as God created you, which is love. As a teacher of God, I'm going to recognize that your illusions can have no effect. Your false ideas about yourself can have no effect. No matter what you think you've done, no matter what you think you're going through, as an unlimited child of God, you cannot suffer. What you really are cannot suffer. What you really are is still connected to God and love. So what do? He says, the truth in the teachers of God's minds reaches out to the truth in the minds of their brothers. So the truth in my mind, that you're deceiving yourself. You're a child of God. You can't really suffer. You are a product of eternal love. You're not a victim of anything that you're going through. You're not alone in anything that you're going through. You have help, divine help in everything that's happening in your life right now. This is what you're supposed to be doing around anyone that you are around who's unhappy or sick for any reason. This is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what this section is about, telling us exactly what our function is. And it says, I'm going to let the truth in my mind reach out to the truth in your mind. Because if the truth in my mind reaches out to the truth in your mind, then our illusions are not reinforced. The false ideas are not reinforced. If I remember how beautiful you are while you're thinking you're so ugly, then I am not reinforcing your ugly thoughts about yourself, because I'm going to let the truth in my mind reach out to the truth in your mind. And the Course says false ideas are thus brought to truth, and truth is not brought to the false ideas. We're taking your false ideas of fear and bringing them to truth, which is love. We're not going to take the love, we're not going to take the fear and try to make it real. We're not going to bring truth to your false, fearful ideas about yourself. And since I don't join with you, since I don't agree with you, I don't agree that you are weak. I don't agree that you are a victim. I don't agree that other people are doing something to you. I don't agree that you are a body. I don't agree that you're going to die. I'm not going to agree. In my mind, I'm not going to agree with anything that you think that's not based on love. And it says, the false ideas, the illusions are thus brought to truth. Truth is not brought to them. And that's how the false ideas, the illusions are dispelled. This is how fear is dispelled. This is how lack is dispelled. It says, but by the union of one will with itself. That's the union of one mind with itself. And this is the function of God's teachers. So what is the function of God's teachers? What is the function of a demonstrator of truth and love? You're about to hear what your function is. And the Course says will and mind, uses will and mind in a synonymous way. So that means this is the function of a demonstrator of God. To see no will, no mind as separate from their own. So my function is not to see your mind as separate from my mind. My function is not to see my mind as disconnected from your mind. So that's why the truth in my mind can reach out to the truth in your mind, and then that won't reinforce the false ideas of fear that we have, because I'm with you, you're unhappy about something, you're sick about something, you're feeling fear about something, you're seeing yourself as a victim about something, but I'm going to know the truth, that you're deceiving yourself. If you think as a child of God, you are weak, and that you're alone, and that you can be hurt. So I let the truth in my mind disagree with the false ideas in your mind, and then that's how we don't reinforce the false idea. And I'm not going to see your mind as separate from my mind, and then I'm not going to see our mind as separate from God's mind. I'm not going to see my mind as separate from your mind, and I'm not going to see our mind as separate from God's or love's mind. My function is to not reinforce the false ideas you have about yourself when you're unhappy. My function is to see no will is separate from mine, that your will is not separate from mine. You want to be perfectly happy. A Course in Miracles teaches that God's will for you is perfect happiness. That God's will for you is perfect happiness, perfect peace. So I'm not going to see my will as separate from that. I'm not going to see my will as separate from your will. And I'm not going to see our will as different or separate from love's or God's. All right. That was off the chain. Now, I have what I call some Everyday Miracle Course in Miracles cards. And I'm going to pull a card for us, for those who are listening to this, and see what the special message is right after I share a couple of things with you. I'm a full-time teacher of God, teacher of love, teacher of the Course. If you like to make a donation or make a financial expression of appreciation, I would certainly appreciate it. And just go to my website, www.earlpurdy.com, earlpurdy.com. If you want to use Venmo, my email address is earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. That's my email address. I'm also a sole purpose astrologer and numerologist, as well as your full-time mentor coach, especially of the Course in Miracles. And I bring that into everything I do. And so I do these sessions called clarity sessions, one-on-one sessions that are very powerful and very healing. If you want to find out more about it, go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and you can self-book a session with me right there online. Please sign up for my contact list so I can let you know about everything that I'm going to be doing, the classes and seminars and workshops. Go to my website. Woo! And I have hundreds of free classes to listen to and watch on my website, earlpurdy.com, and on YouTube. And if you want to, and I also have done all 365 workbook lessons on video on YouTube. I've done all 365 lessons. So all you have to do is go to YouTube and just type in Purdy, Earl Purdy, or Purdy, lesson, let's say lesson 20, and it's going to come up. If you go to YouTube, and you can also Google it, just go Earl Purdy, lesson 22, or whatever lesson is, and it'll come up, and you can watch the video, so you can do your workbook lesson with me every day. I'm here to be truly helpful you all. That's what I'm here to do. The once you begin to wake up spiritually, you realize that it's all you, and that you just want to be a tool for love and of service. So, quick review, right quick. We were talking about what is your function. Well, the first thing that it said was you can't change anybody's mind for them. All we can do as good teachers is just try to motivate a person to change their own mind. If you're around other people like us who really want to grow and change and become more loving, he says you don't have any function but to rejoice. So we just here to be happy with each other. If you're around people who think they are victims and think that they're sick and think that they are alone or guilty or angry, regular folk in the world, Well, it says these people are not open-minded to the idea that they created that experience and that they're the creators of their experience. Because if they even suspected it was true, then their problem would be gone. There would be a healing. So you come to represent another choice. You come to represent a choice that the people around you who are unhappy have forgotten. So you are here to ask for their forgiveness, and that means you're here to ask for their correct perception. You're not there to fix them. You're there to remind them of the remedy that God has already given them. For instance, a spiritual path, another way to look at things. There's help available. So you're going to say in your mind, you're doing all this in your mind. You say, hey, look here. I want you to see, you beautiful child of God. I want you to see what life and love and truth can offer you. You're doing this in your mind with the unhappy person. And you're saying, would you choose sickness instead of life? Would you choose death instead of life? Would you choose fear instead of love? Now, whatever it is that the person thinks they're upset about or going through pain about, you don't consider the form of it when you really become advanced. You don't really focus on if, just the form is taken, whether it's they're unhappy about something at work or they have some particular part of the body that's ill. You don't focus on the form, because really it doesn't matter what form of unhappiness you're going through. It's just being caused by one problem. It's being caused by believing that you're separate from your creator, according to this, which is love, and that's the only problem. And everything that we go through is just an effect of that problem of thinking that we're separate from God and separate from love. So you don't really focus on the latest thing that the person thinks that they're upset about, because it's just another form of them thinking that they're separate from God, thinking that they're separate from love. And also, you want to seek for God and truth in this person, because they're deceiving themselves. They're deceiving themselves by thinking that what they really are can suffer, that who you really are can suffer. Then you're deceiving yourself. No matter how real it seems, no matter how real the suffering seems, you're deceiving yourself because you've forgotten. You've forgotten that you didn't make yourself. You did not create yourself. You are there in your mind. You're going, I know you didn't create yourself. I know that you were created for God, by God. I know you still as God created you. Now, see, I'm doing all that in my mind while the other person is sharing whatever it is they're unhappy or sick about. This is what you're supposed to be doing. And I'm supposed to let the truth in my mind reach out to the truth in your mind, because I'm not going to reinforce the negative, fearful things that you believe when you're unhappy. And I'm going to see your mind is not separate from mine. I'm going to see my will not separate from your will, because you also want perfect happiness. And I'm not going to see our will. I'm not going to see our minds separate from God. That's right, CJ. That's right, CJ. I choose to see you differently. Wow. Now listen to this over and over again. Now, what is the miracle card that I pull for the group? Okay, because this is our climax, the orgasm of the class. Okay, here it is. It is, in quiet, I receive God's word today. That's the card I pulled for us. Check that out. And how, in quiet, I receive God's word today. On the back it says, now listen to this. It says, true prayer must avoid the pitfall of asking to entreat. Avoid the pitfall of asking just to get. That's what it's saying, that I'm asking to get. So don't avoid the pitfall of asking to entreat, just asking so you can get something just for yourself. Ask rather to receive what is already given. Ask to receive what is already given. So we're being told the right way to pray. And let's do it right now. I ask to receive what is already given, to accept what is already there. I ask to receive what is already given, to accept what is already there. I ask to receive what is already given, to accept what is already there. I ask to receive what is already given, to accept what is already there. So this is the way you pray. I ask to receive what's already given. I ask to receive the abundance that's already given. I ask to receive the peace that is already given. I ask to receive the health that is already given. I ask to receive the innocence that is already given. I ask to receive what is already given, to accept what is already there. Let's try it again. I ask to receive what is already given. I ask to receive what is already given. I ask to receive what is already given. I ask to accept what is already there. I ask to accept what is already there. I ask to receive what is already given. I ask to accept what is already there. You ask to receive what is already given. You ask to receive what is already given. You ask to receive what is already given. You ask to accept what is already there, what is already here. You ask to accept what is already here. The love that is already here, the happiness that is already here, the oneness that is already here, the answers that are already here. You ask to receive what's already given. You ask to accept what is already there. In quiet, I receive God's word today. That's our theme of the next week. Every Thursday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, Hardcore Course in Miracles, here on Facebook Live, on the Earl Purdy page. On the Earl Purdy page. Please share this video. And on Sundays at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, I do another Facebook Live, A Course in Miracles, before a live audience, and also on Facebook Live, 1 p.m. Mountain Time on Sundays on the Earl Purdy page. Woo! I'm going to listen to this immediately. That's what I usually do. As soon as I finish with you all, I kick back, and then I become the student, and then I listen back to what the Holy Spirit, with love, truth, said through me. Because the teacher is the learner. The teacher is the learner. Mighty companions, I love you so much. I love you so much. You are such blessings. We have each other. Don't forget that. When you're in the dream of this separation that we're in, think about your mighty companions. We are the mighty companions. I love you all. That's right. Have a miracle week. And listen to this again and share it. This is Earl Purdy. Let the course, may the course be with you. Mwah.